at argumentative essays. We've done them before. It's nothing new, but I just wanted to give you a refresher. Let me start by asking, when do we have an argument? When do you argue? What's the point of having an argument? You argue when you want others to agree with your ideas. You argue when you want to get your view across. In argumentative writing, a writer takes a position for or against an issue and writes to convince the reader to his own point of view. In order to convince the reader, you need more than just your opinion. You need facts or examples to back your opinion. So what does an argumentative essay do? An argumentative essay tries to convince the reader to your point of view. Talking about the organization of an argumentative essay, it's pretty much the same as any other essays. You have three main parts: the introduction, main body, and the conclusion. So in the introduction, you first introduce the problem and give the background information necessary for the argument and the thesis. And introductory paragraph should ideally have a concise summary of the main points of your arguments, the arguments that you have in line to prove your point. The main body paragraphs will constitute of the paragraphs which I give the pro arguments and then the counter argument and the refutation. The reasons that you give should be organized in separate paragraph for each reason. And the refutation, it depends on the points that you want to make. 1 or 2 paragraphs are typical for a standard essay. And in the conclusion, then again, you summarize all your arguments, the pro arguments and the counter argument and refutation, and you restate your premise and summarize the reasons your thesis makes sense. So basically, in the end, you just summarized the whole essay and get it all together to round it off and wind it up. What is a thesis statement? As far as argumentative essays go, it is the most important sentence in your essay. Why do I say that? It is because the thesis statement gives your stance on the topic. It tells whether you are for or against the topic, and it basically establishes your standpoint and your stance on the subject. This is what you're going to be proving throughout the length of your essay. It answers the question, what am I trying to prove? It is not a factual statement, but a claim that has to be proven by giving different arguments throughout the essay. A thesis statement is usually put at the end of the introductory paragraph of the essay, and it is usually expressed in one sentence. It doesn't have to be lengthy. One concise, well-structured sentence should give away your thesis statement. In the brainstorming session, once you come up with your thesis, which gives you your line of argument, I would recommend you to enlist all your points in favor, which would be the pros, and the arguments against, which would be the cons, the topic that you have. And out of these, use the strongest points at hand. For pros or the pro arguments, use the points that you can easily and emphatically prove. And for the cons or the counter arguments, choose the points that you can refute effectively. We're going to go through this again in detail in the next slides, so don't worry about it. Okay, how do you prove your thesis? How do you prove your line of thought? You prove that by presenting arguments, points in favor of your stance, and giving supporting evidence. Now, what is supporting evidence? Supporting evidence could be examples, it could be factual details, it could be anything that basically validifies your stance. Okay, here's an example of how one might refute another's opinion or claim in everyday life. So Bob and Susie have just seen a movie and they have a difference of opinion. Bob claims that the movie was lame. Susie asks why. Bob gives his opinion, his evidence as to why he feels so. He says, The special effects were bad. The monsters were obviously fake. Susie obviously does not agree with this and she counterclaims. She says, I thought the movie was good because the acting was believable. To this, Bob responds, what an idiot you are. Or he says, you're an idiot. So, in my opinion, that's a very bad response. Why? You'll have to consider this. What do you think out of the two is a better way to disagree and refute Susie's claim? Here's one, and I'm just going to give you the second response that he could have made. Bob could have said, yes, the acting was good, but the horrible special effects were too distracting and caused some awkward moments. What do you think out of the two? Which is a better way to disagree and refute Susie's claim? Was it the first, when he simply calls her an idiot? Calling her an idiot is not going to win her over to his line of thinking, is it? In the second instance, on the other hand, Bob is not completely dismissive of what Susie has to say, but accepting her critique, he reasserts his own point of view in a very logical manner. And so by pursuing the argument in a logical way, he might even be able to convince her. So by presenting logical arguments, you are more liable at being successful in convincing others to your line of thought. Just keep that in mind. Like we just saw in the previous slide, there are always more than one opinion on any given subject. So to convince your reader to your line of argument, you have to pick a counter argument and literally destroy it. You have to refute it, invalidate it, and prove it wrong. And you have to do it logically or with factual evidence. And in doing so, you make your own case stronger. This is called refutation or rebuttal. So when writing an argumentative essay, you should write at least 3 reasons in support of your proposals or thesis in 3 different separate paragraphs, and then you list the main reason against your proposal, or like we said, give your counter argument and then refute it logically and effectively. So this is basically your flow chart for the essay, whole essay. Not the whole essay, the ending part is missing, but at the very beginning you start off with the introduction and your proposal or thesis in the first paragraph, and then you go on to your prose. You're going to construct 3 separate paragraphs for that, and in each paragraph you'll cater 1 point and then back it up with evidence, and then when you're done with your prose, then you go on to your con, which is basically a counter argument that you're going to refute. You're going to make a separate paragraph for that. And after this comes your ending of the essay, and in that you're going to basically summarize the whole essay, all the arguments that you have generated all through the essay. Okay, let's go for an example. Let's say you have your proposal is, the topic is such that you come up with a thesis or proposal that all handgun sales should be prohibited. Now, what are the pros? The pros could be, why are you in favor of this? Why? Because it would decrease violent crime. Another reason could be that it would save taxpayers' money, which would come from the fact that less police will have to be employed because of less violence. Third point could be it would help create a better social environment. Alright, so you can construct 3 separate paragraphs, and then each time you give your topic sentence, you back it up with examples and details and facts. Once you're done with the pro arguments, we head on to the counter argument and its refutation. A counter argument to your proposed thesis could be that if all handgun sales are prohibited, then that in a way would curb individual freedom to freedom from fear of the people who possess these firearms. So the advantage of such a ban surely outweighs the disadvantage. So in this way, you will be winding up your the argumentative part of your essay and heading on to the concluding part, which would be the final paragraph. Let's have a look at the final format of the essay. Alright, to wind it up, we're just going to have a look at how we're going to organize ideas into an outline. They're basically different models according to which you can organize your essay, but this is the model that I would want you to use because I think this is easier to manage. And it's basically, it goes beyond 5 paragraphs because the first paragraph would be your introduction and thesis statement. Second, third, and fourth paragraphs would be your pro-arguments. And then the final paragraph, sorry, not the final paragraph, your fifth paragraph would be counter-arguments and refutation, and the final paragraph would be the conclusion. I hope this helps, and this helps you refresh your whatever we've done so far. Thank you.